And hello everyone, it is... Wait, is it? Monday? Is it Monday, really? Doesn't feel like Monday. Maybe it's because I'm tired and sore. Oh, what a weekend. I still haven't fixed my timer. Oops. We'll get to it later. Monday. What are Mondays for? Gotta re-inclinate ourselves to the week and what our... In most cases, what our normal routine may be, especially if you have kids. In my case, that is wrangling them down to their room and asking them politely and then meanly, if they don't listen the first time, to be quiet for 1 hour and behave. And then it'll be fun the rest of the day and you won't have to do that. Well, you'll still have to behave, but we'll get there. Hey guys, how y'all doing? How is everybody? It's a dragging on Monday. I don't have any guests today, but I have some fun, dumb, small changes I made for many reasons. Just because I have been busting my buttocks trying to find more work and extra jobs. It's starting to pay off, but I'm finding it doesn't hurt to sometimes make it known that you're looking to make some money on what you're doing. So I added a cup and I faded it away because I don't want it to be the center of attention. And in that cup, I decided to tinker with it a few minutes before stream here, and I made it so that you can drop my skull in the cup when you donate, which I thought might be funny to watch my head drop in the cup. And it is. So it was funny I left it. Also, large donations, a big bone drops in. So we'll see how that goes. I doubt I'll get any, but hey, whatever. $1 or $2 here or there. It'll all add up later. Hey, I have a board too. Oh crap, what am I doing? What have I done? Oh, I'm messing the show up already, aren't I? Nah, not really. It is nice to see you here, TCA. It is also nice to see the angry Amish hitman here. We had a wild fox appear, and then he had to go to work. So, we wish him luck at work, and bountiful paychecks, I suppose, would be the next thing to ask for. Bountiful paychecks to you at work, sir. Bountiful paychecks. Uh-oh, I forgot to mute my phone. Damn numbskull, can't remember to do things before the stream starts. I think that's just what happens when I run the stream. But, let me click on this button, and then I'll click on this button, and then... Welcome to the Great Debate! That's right. That's right, Dewey. There's nothing to shake around in the skull when it drops in the cup. See? No rattling, no bells, no nothing. Well, since it's a Monday, it appears to be a slow Monday. I probably need to share my stream out more often. Yeah, I should do more. I was tinkering this morning, probably for things that weren't actually productive, but well, what the hell. I like to tinker. Speaking of tinkering, what topic shall we tinker with first this morning? See, now I'm kind of wondering, because I usually got like 5 or 6 people here by now in the morning, and there's 2 of you, and then my bots. So it's telling me there's 5 people here, but there's 2. Okay, so one of you pick a topic, and we'll go over that. We'll see who shows up while we're talking. Technology, says TCA. And it's there. Does having new technologies make new options and legislations necessary? Ooh. Hi, Lacey! Poof. New technologies are developing all the time, And as we're realizing with the internet, it seems that we have to make apparent and legislate what's right or wrong, what's criminal and non-criminal activity. So, will new technologies continue to advance that? Well, here's a weird question. Because of formulating questions I've had to come up with today, let's insert some technological thought here, because we've talked about renting virtual space that you operate in, and we've talked about some other aspects of this. What about virtual space? Would you have to legislate actions within virtual space? We're beginning to see heavy legislations in some countries, heavier in others that have been around for a while, about what can and cannot be shown, what sites can and cannot be accessed, what can and cannot be done on those sites. And it seems as time goes on, these restrictions get tighter and tighter as the knowledge of what is out there becomes more and more apparent to those who are paying attention. So, is it, I'm missing a word, it's not in my head, I can't think of it. Is it right to believe that as we continue to invent new technologies, these technologies will force mandates by the government on how they can, well, inherently on how they can not be used by the public? If the military has access to something that they deem a weapon, does that limit civilian access to that same item? I'm not necessarily even speaking of a gun or any type of projectile. What if knowledge of the military having a technology causes other people to say, oh, well, I can make that technology and also create it, and then it's now in civilian hands? Would that technology be illegal? It's not necessarily legislated against right now because it doesn't send a projectile or count as a weapon, but it's being used as a deterrent or as a weapon. So does there need to be legislation because of the new technology, or is it a new technology and let capitalism take over? Everybody needs a new skin melting ray gun. How do you decipher between when a technology can be harmful and when to legislate it? And what legislations would end up coming up to prevent something? They do legislate technologies, but then again, they're also making AI that you can bang. So, did they actually make 3D printing guns illegal? Did they actually work? Before there was 3D printing, there's other guns. Also, if you want to get technical, I could make a lethal firearm out of an air hose, a compressor, and some pellets. I've never really looked at, and I should, what the lethality of bow and arrow is, because that seems pretty legal to buy and own and use. And I'm not sure how that falls out, because it's not like you hear about people being murdered or defended with a bow and arrow. Yeah, I stopped a robbery today. Glad I was carrying my Mach 3 bow. Instead of my Beretta 9mm. I don't know. Does having new technologies make new options and legislations necessary? I don't know if it makes it necessary. It almost makes it feel inherently obligated to restrict certain use of items that could be used with ill intent. And while that makes sense on the outside, how and where do you classify the restrictions? Where do you place technologies? Are they a weapon? Do you limit... Actually, yes, we do limit internet access to certain people who use it as a weapon in their crime. So that's a technology. We limit access to things to people who use those things in their crime. So if you're using a technology, do we limit you? And then that gets back to the pro-gun side of the argument, which is if I didn't do anything wrong, why am I being restricted? Like, if I can make and use a claymore, should I be restricted? Probably. Okay, fair enough. If I can make use a ray gun, should I be restricted? How? By what rights? And then, in what aspects do you take this technology? Where do they have the right to restrict your ability to create something, to advance a technology, to use a technology? Where do you put their limit at their ability to restrict that? And the government's going to restrict it probably after it's made. So you've already got something and now you can't use it, or they take it away and you get charged with use. They didn't actually make 3D printing guns illegal, did they actually? Oh, I read that. The 3D printing of guns, I'm not sure how that worked, but I do remember seeing earlier that there are some guns you can make that will work for single or multiple use. I know it was also in a movie, but you can print a plastic gun. You can go to the hardware store and buy 22mm shells that will push a nail into a concrete wall. So what's to stop you from making your own gun? Illegally, of course, if you can't own a gun legally. Also, having looked into some of the restrictions for like guns and technologies to make guns, you can very easily and legally make your own weapon. So how do you restrict the ability for people to make a weapon? And that's a real weird question, especially when you start thinking about other countries that still have guns where guns aren't legal. So think about that. You can make a weapon very easily if you're intelligent enough. But with that, we must move on to the next topic. TCA picked technology. Technology has died. Now we're living on the land and the sands and the fertile soil. What if AI eventually takes over from humans? Will the IA make legislations to restrict us? Absolutely. Who's to say that it would be a socialist regime that would place an internet intelligence in charge to delegate and automate and something else to the society to continue it running and make sure people are assigned the proper tasks to do. I think if we do go socialist, we'll be not only run, there'll be somebody kind of making sure the robots are running properly, but other than that, we'll be run by what the robots deem is best. And they'll be monitoring and watching everything. It's inevitable. The robots will control our lives. We'll work alongside them, maybe. Like the little dogs we are. Wait, where did this conversation just go? We need another topic. I love YouTube here. What a... That was sarcastic, of course. I don't actually love YouTube because I don't know how many people are watching me because it says 6. And there's only 2 on the list. And I'm asking, 3D printing guns is... 3D printing guns is a PETA. I've watched a guy from start to finish. It's hard and extremely time consuming. You have to sand things down for each and fit certain parts. Have to be metal. Yes. You ever installed a pool? You ever shoveled away a truckload of rock? You ever built a bench? Things take time. And the better you want your product, the more time you put into it. If you want yourself a nice, shiny, new, ivory-handled gun, it's either going to cost you more time or more money for someone else's time. It's inevitable. 3D printed guns just simplify the process of making the object. They don't simplify the process of the completed product. Mainstream media, unless someone else wants to pick. Oh no, we'll do mainstream media. Here we go. Could mainstream media do what YouTubers do and trial approaches to topics? Ooh, I wanted to add more into this, but I'll kind of insert it as I go. Please, everybody in the chat, interject your opinions so I can read them. Except for Skullbot. Shut the fuck up, Skullbot. Here's an interesting thought. So we're constantly toiling back and forth over the implications of mainstream media versus YouTube freelance media. There's a name for it, private media. However, the mainstream media seems to set things up and run on a dynamic that's established that they've tried to continue to work with. And I think the reason that YouTubers do it differently is something I heard a YouTuber say about other smaller YouTubers, is that YouTubers doing news are hanging out in their basement with a laptop that has a camera and a microphone. They're researching, they're studying, and they're reporting the facts the best that they can retrieve them as quickly as they can by themselves. And at the same time, those freelance YouTubers are competing against multi-billion-dollar companies that have researchers, that have reporters, that have video teams, that have audio teams, that have awesome sets and everything. And yet, sometimes you feel like you almost know that you're getting better information and better reporting from somebody who sat down and did the research than you are from those who are sitting on the billion-dollar programming. I'd love if mainstream media would stop force-feeding us stupid celebrity drama and putting the celebrity status above all else and not trying to fool people into infighting. Fool. Are you calling me a fool? No, I got it. Another thing I thought, and this is a weird thought to have, alright? We see these news shows, we see these organizations trying to find fun new ways to attract the audience. And they're creating these shows and they're adding new speakers. They're creating new talk shows and putting different types of people behind the desk with different viewpoints on the same kind of opinions, sort of. And you're creating these things to compete against what we're creating as YouTubers. Now, as a YouTuber, what am I creating? I can only compare my own analogy because my hangout up here is empty. What am I creating? I can't get my skull to move yet. I'm still working on some ideas. Not as thoroughly as I was a couple months ago, but I will get back to it. I want my skull to move and show me moving. So, if I'm doing a talk game show-ish thing, let's cite Jeopardy, because it's the closest show to what I do. Do you want to be on a show with a talking skeleton? Maybe not a IRL, but why are we talking IRL anymore? Why are the only guests they get on guests and not avatars? I'd love to chat on Fox News from my avatar. Let me get it moving so I look pretty cool when I do it, but the YouTube experience, we all want to get somewhere, and we all want to diverge ideas, and most of us want to share ideas and understand others and how they see ideas. So we reach out to other YouTubers. We want to talk to the audience. We want to talk to other people that are talking. We want to compare these ideas, constantly questioning, well, is what we're seeing the right way to see it? If somebody can offer me a viewpoint to see it differently, I'll look at that viewpoint and compare it against my viewpoint and see which one stands against the beliefs that I hold. And the only way to continue to do that is to have conversations. Well, the news is limiting the conversations they're having. They're limiting their avenues. They're taking away the possibility of creativity by following the mold the news has always done. I'm not the only person on the YouTube using an avatar. On the YouTube, that sounds corny. I'm not the only person on the YouTube using an avatar. And other people are doing the news. Or better yet, you have people that are just getting in front of a camera with a green screen and showing things behind them. or trying to find new ways to appeal to the audience. We're not just putting programming out for the sake of putting it out for you to watch. We're putting program out that we, hopefully ourselves, I speak for myself obviously, but others I hope follow. We're putting out programming that we want others to enjoy as much as we enjoy doing it. And we strive to be better at what we do. We're not striving to achieve what mainstream media has, because we see that the structure they have hasn't followed through for this time period, and what it needs is some ingenuity. You need to get some fresh new approaches. I'm too inconsistent to be a good YouTuber, but my videos are mainly aimed toward the behavior of some women. I doubt mainstream will ever point the finger where it should be pointed. That's true, and it's their inability to be loose and to try things, I think, that is causing people to leave. They're not trying to show the news anymore, and you can see that they're showing a viewpoint, and that viewpoint is becoming more consistent than the information they're providing. What can they do? Honestly, what could they really do? If you take it down to the bare basics, what they need to do is they need to not compete against the YouTubers, but look at what the YouTubers are doing and try to find points that they agree with, not of topics, of concept. Try to find points of concept they agree with and work on building from the points of concept. Compete against us by being better than us. Don't compete against us by putting us down. And that's kind of how I feel about mainstream media. I was thinking about this yesterday on why it's so thick between mainstream media and YouTube. I think the reason that people are moving away is because people are tired of being lied to. Right. If you watch a certain network, it's not a variety of different ideas from a variety of different shows. It's the same idea wrapped differently in a different show on that network. I want to see one network provide me with the diversity of ideas. And I'm honestly, this really gets on my nerves. Don't invite somebody on for a talk or a debate for less than 5 minutes. Less than 3 minutes. I'm sorry, we're here to talk to you tonight. 1 minute and 30 seconds later, that's all the time we have. Wait, you didn't get anywhere in 1 minute and 30 seconds. And you're out of time. Okay, I'm not convinced you're trying to tell anything. I'm convinced you're trying to avoid letting it go. And I don't care which network that's on. That's on all of them. That's on every network. But we are back at this. Where's my fire? Oh, it's still there. It's just very faint. I'll have to fix that. We're back at this board where the fire is dying. Apparently, I'm gonna have to relight the fire. Anybody got gasoline? I need some gasoline. Skeeter, get the gasoline, Skeeter. I haven't done that in a while. That hurts. Let's see. Agreed. Okay, we'll go with agreed. Why does that take so long to show up on the YouTube chat? Damn you, YouTube. Oh, I love you, YouTube. Damn you, YouTube. We need another topic before I go halfway crazy on my end. I got guns numbed. Will that help? In most states, until I fill out certain paperwork and pay a bunch of money to the state that I was detained in most states I can't legally own a firearm, and even once I do all that, I can't legally own a handgun. And in some states, do you know a BB gun is considered a firearm? But we're going to talk about the government instead of that. Oh, gas. You got gas numbed. Will that help? Oh, yeah. Why did I think you said guns? Yeah, what's my hat on? Should the powers of the government officials be expanded or rolled back? Ooh. See, this is always a weird question. Good morning, Daryl Odell, and welcome to the chat. Right now we're chatting about the government as it just started. The powers of the government officials. Ooh. How about we increase their powers if we roll back their paycheck? We'll give you more power, but you get less money. We'll give you more money, but you get less power. How would you like it? There should be a balance. There should be a balance in the powers of what officials have. And again, I reiterate this, and I understand we are in a democratic republic, which means the vote is taken into consideration and then voted upon. So why don't we vote for things somewhat more directly? And I've said this before. I don't want to give more power to the people who have power because I inherently know that when I have power, my power is going to suit the needs and desires that I have. If I need or desire something and my power doesn't allow it, I'm either going to try and give myself the power to get it, or I'm going to take it and use my power to take it. So if I think I would misuse power, would I give somebody else that same power? This is a constant struggle in my head, and I'm sure other people's. And this is what the government lacks, is the consideration as to what can be done. What they're thinking is, well, I don't want to assign that power because so-and-so would misuse it. But what you have to think to yourself is, how would you misuse it, and why would you misuse it? Because your reasoning behind denying someone else the power is always, not always, but I feel derived on the basis of what you feel you would do with that power. Which is where I think a lot of mainstream media is going right now, is I see a lot of, well, so-and-so did this because I was doing it. They must have been doing it. So-and-so did this because I was doing it. They must have been doing it. So if we blame them, we don't get caught. But so-and-so was doing this too. At what point do you determine the government have too much power? That's a very fair question. Thank you, Cognitive Thought, for making my stream hit with sovereign citizens. I try to understand the point that they're making to a realization where I question, where are they wrong? At what point, obviously aside from them being pulled over or being detained for the crime that they have, are they wrong in their point? And I can't find one other than, what was damn, I forget where my mind was going on this the other day with the sovereign citizens. At what point did you give the police more power than the citizens have? And if the police have the ability to arrest somebody for doing something small, over writing a citation, even though the interaction seemingly went okay, doesn't that then assign more power to the government than you decided they should have? And it does go to a weird question that comes from the sovereign citizen statement, is if you get stopped or pulled over or detained for speeding or a taillight or something, isn't a crime basically something you did against somebody? So who did you commit the crime against when you commit certain crimes? You committed it against the government. So how do you commit a crime against the government? By not following their rules. So balance this out slowly in your head. Man, I just don't know when to shut up sometimes. I go with that same thing, Bobcat. It's all right. Welcome to the chat. How do you balance out the rights that are given to the government because you pay for their protection versus the rights that are taken away by the protection they give you? And it goes to a fair question, which I don't think most people today are prepared for. If we took away powers, enough powers from the government where they were left to people to decide how to go about them. If you had to defend yourself and there was no police to defend you against robbers or breaking and entering, if you had to defend yourself and you had to arrest the person and take them to court, how would that go? Where would our society be? So we granted the powers to the police to keep us safe and to be there when we call, but then we understand, especially today in the age of cameras, as much as I'd hate to admit it, that bad stuff happens both on the sides of the cops and on the sides of individuals. So how do we take that into account? Would you be safer protecting yourself, or would you be safer allowing the police, who make the decision, why do I have a timeout? At what point do you let the government determine you have too much power? Why are you timed out? Yeah. Please don't do that again, Bobcat. I appreciate it. Yeah, 300 seconds is an entire topic. I don't know how to untime some... Do I? Oh, I don't even dare open that window right now. I got too much stuff open. I'm sorry. Don't go anywhere, TCA. Alright. Sorry about that. I'm going to learn how to fix that for future reference. And where was I? My time is up. So yeah, I tried to think about... Wow, I lost my whole train of thought on that one. I try to think about at what point are they given too much power, more than we authorized, by giving them the ability to protect us. Wow, the chat is slow on my watch device. What is it? What do we got? We're halfway through the show and we're already 3 topics in. We can take a minute here and see what happens here. Let's see where that menu goes. And we'll temporarily do this. And then how do I get... Oh, crap, I set that up wrong. Who wants to pick the next topic? Well, I try to figure out... Let's see if this makes me lag. I'm going to try and be intelligent and figure out where this menu is. I think I know, but I've never accessed it during a stream. No, that's not it. That's not it. School! School is. Should we have such political divide if education stuck to... Would we have such political divide if education stuck to basics and not sci studies, like psychology, sociology, all of the weird shit that keeps being inserted into our school system? Where would we be? Now, I have to question... At what point did we decide it was okay not to teach what history has taught us, but decide that certain things were inherently good or bad for the purposes of teaching an illustration to today's social construct of government? Not social construct, today's societal government interaction, let's call it, I suppose. Schools were supposed to teach things that happened, and we're supposed to study historic events to learn from, adapt from, and not repeat. That's the whole point we're taught in education. So if we learn about what happened during the Holocaust and World War II and why we fought and how it went, why is then trying to get specific information or trying to question it bad. Instead, you're just supposed to take what was said. It was the Holocaust, it was bad. That's how it is. Well, how bad was it? Maybe it wasn't as bad as other people thought. You're a denier! That's bad! Now we inherently assign that same category system to what's currently going on in the news and whatnot. And that category system assigns that because you do this action and I can portray this action as something that happened, that officially makes it bad. What allows people, or what helps people classify, let's say for instance Donald Trump or anything he said and done, as an affiliation or a representation of a Hitler-like activity? Hitler took those who were in his country that he didn't like, trapped them, separated them, and slowly killed them. Now, we're not doing that. We're trying to take people who have come into the country that weren't supposed to and push them back out. How is that the same? We'd prefer you didn't come, but if you come, we'll push you back out. Well, we don't like you, so we're going to trap you, find you, separate you, and kill you. No. We'll think about it, Bobcat. Maybe by the end of the show. To teach kids, and see, this is sci study. It was hard for me to try to decide what to write. I mean, like psychology, sociology. I don't mean physiology or anything like that. I'm talking like mental. Psi meaning psycho, meaning brain. We're teaching people how to read what is said. We're not teaching them to listen to what is said. We're teaching people that, well, if you use this word, it could be used in a bad way. Just be aware of that. When not what the word actually means and why some people may take it badly. And I think that instead of teaching information and teaching the opinion and the psychological aspects or the psychology of the viewpoint behind what somebody says, and I think that's what people are leaning toward, is it's not what people say, it's how they say it. No, it's what people say and when and where they say it. How they say it is how they say it. You can take it however you want. They said it. Why can't we stick to the basics? This is the information. This is how many people we believe were the minimum number killed. This is how many people we believe were the maximum number killed. If in America, and I'm sorry this doesn't apply to all countries, and apparently it doesn't apply well through America. Whoa, what was that audio glitch? Apparently it doesn't apply well through all of America, but to say an event is bad is to assign that, okay? Now, if a teacher says that World War II was bad, that would technically be an opinion and not an application of history. Therefore, on the same accord, somebody can think that World War II was good. And in America, we have the freedom to believe what we want to believe. We can be ignorant and stupid all we want. You can deny facts. You can think it was a good thing that a population was separated and killed. And you can believe that was good. However, assigning that characteristic to another person, thinking that because you don't want people breaking through fences into land that's not theirs, which is how I take it down. They're crossing over fences onto land that's not theirs illegally. Because you don't want that, the person who's going to stand up for keeping people from breaking through the fences is a Nazi because he doesn't want them to break the law. not because we have huge gas chambers and we're looking for Jews. Somebody tell me how the confusion relates. And it comes in because people are taught to compare these things in school. So in other words, interpretation is more important than fact. No. Yeah, no, wait, what? How is interpretation more important than fact? Hysteria. Which part? The Mexicans walking over a fence versus the Germans killing the Jewish? We're not out to kill people necessarily. We just... Hey, guys, we have a fence. This is our fence. This denotes our line. Please don't cross it. Oh, you came over our fence. Can you leave? No. Okay, well then we'll take you to court. Then we'll make you leave our property. It's a weird analogy, but it works. Yes, deport. I'm okay. I'm off on a tangent, but I'm gonna let this tangent roll for just a moment. When you watch the news and you see them fight against it, a question that's sometimes asked is, are all of these people crossing legally? Now, when you go across the border, there are border stations. At toll roads, you often see an office. When you cross the border through the toll-looking thing, you'll see little offices, U.S., one on the other side, they'll say Canadian. I'm assuming they're the same in Mexico. Wherever there's a road or an area, you can go to that building and apply for asylum or whatever it is you're doing. I'm going to go by the assumption of what I've encountered and seen. And, of course, I've never driven up to a field and tried to run a line and cross a fence. Okay? But you go to that station. And the question that's often asked to people when you bring up the Mexican debate is, so they're all crossing legally at the border and asking for asylum. Well, they're all presenting themselves. Okay, so when they get caught, they stop and say, I want an asylum. That's presenting themselves. No, what that is you're cooperating with the enforcement of the law you broke. And I can't necessarily say I agree with your persuasion. If there was a line standing at the embassy on the Mexican border going, we're claiming for asylum, not a guy under a tree watching a camera move to see when it's safe to run, then I would believe you. But I believe more people are trying to cross illegally because, well, I've driven across the national border and I've seen that it's not like there's a huge wall and a fence and border patrol offices and doors and gates letting people in every few hundred yards. And of course, you know, you want to go do something legally and it's obviously going to cost you more than doing it illegally. So which one are you going to choose? We do need to pick another topic. Let me show you guys the board. Ooh, look at that beautiful board. I should make it shine. No, I don't feel like shining. I shined long enough. What do we got to talk about next? I don't think... I've worked for illegals for a long time. They want to bring Mexico here. Transportation. I worked and lived near some Mexicans in a spot out in Sacramento, and I will tell you, they are the shiftiest and worst people I've probably ever worked with. And I'm almost 100% person. The Mexicans I worked with are 100% plausible. The Mexicans I worked with are the ones that found my truck, broke into the window, and stole a few $100s worth of tools. So there's also that. But I don't have anything against Mexicans. But if I see them specific ones, I might have a problem. What sound method, transportation, what sound method could be used to streamline travel in large cities? Ooh, I've been waiting for this one. Yeah, even your friends, or people you think are your friends, those you work with and associate with, even they will steal from you out there. Just saying. Some method... what sound method could be used to streamline travel in large cities? So, okay, I've looked at a few of these. Oh! Nugs just joined the chat. stopped in to throw money at me. I want to see what this looks like. How do I see what this looks like? Did it already drop? It already dropped. I made skulls drop. Thank you so much, Nugs. I appreciate you keeping this show with some change. I really do. I was looking at some really cool large city ideas that are absolutely the worst fucking ideas I've probably ever heard. We currently have systems that relatively work, however, they're inefficient. And the whole point of transportation is to efficiently get you from one place to another. And one idea I saw was spectacularly cool. However, it required a lot more work than I really feel necessary. Now, what we all seem to encounter right now is on the road level we have roads and bridges filled with cars, detours, constructions, accidents, bridges and cones. It almost seems no matter where you drive, it almost seems wherever you drive, nice, that you run across areas that are almost... And the message from Nugs, now that it finally loaded for me, build that wall, I include tax as a share of the cost. Beautiful. Gotta love that. Always losing my train of thought. Now, the idea I saw, I forget what his name was. Somebody remind me. It's not about his name, it's about his idea right now. Was to move people through on transit cars that could move your car or groups of people from the surface below ground and then move you below ground to your destination through an efficient pattern of roads and whatnot. Now, I thought that idea was pretty cool. Problems inherently are developed when you start to build underground, and most of those problems are with air circulation, water removal, fire, and I think there was one more that's in the list of underground problems. It's fire, water, air, and something else. Why can't I remember? Because I'm a numbskull. So his method was awfully cool. It would use these electric cars that would move through the stations on these paths and allow you to efficiently travel. All we have to kind of do is take the current subway and road level stations we have and mirror them. I'm not saying cars underground, cars need to be above ground. Bicycles should be subground level. We've seen areas where bridges are built, where they're literally right on top of each other. I think the Brooklyn Bridge, isn't it the Brooklyn? No, it's not the Brooklyn Bridge. Maybe it's the Washington Bridge. There's 2 lanes on each side, on each level, on each side of that level. And that means there's like 16 lanes on the bridge, so traffic always moves. I forget. It's been at least a decade since I've been to the city. And traffic seems to move pretty well. Even when there's construction, you can shut one section of the entrance down and move you through another section, and they can keep traffic moving, but it still gets kind of congested. If we continue that underground, how would you eliminate that congestion? The problem comes that too many people are getting on and off at too many different places. If you take this to an underground consideration, does anybody remember seeing, like, trolleys? If we took away the high-speed trains and we put in time-efficient trains that don't stop moving, that move at a certain speed, and cut down the number of the high-speed trains that have to stop and start and stop and start, and you just have the ability like an open free movement system with trams and cars that move through it, you can either walk or you can travel on the tram. What would you do for exhaust disposals? The cars would have to be electric. See, tram cars run on electric tracks. They would run much like the trains would, just at lower speeds. People would be able to move through. Eliminate the congestion by pushing crowds in front of moving trains. People would get carbon dioxide poisoning. Again, air and ventilation is always an issue in underground. The problem I saw with the what's-his-name method was he wanted to be able to move cars from surface to underground levels. And when you do that, the car is probably still running. Now you're talking a lot more ventilation. Now you're also talking about putting that car on something, on a platform that has to move. How does that platform maintain power? If that platform can move freely of tracks, then it has to do it by some sort of fuel. And if that fuel is not an electric or some sort, it's some sort, yeah. If it's not electric, it's probably some sort of combustible fuel, and a combustible fuel will cause more havoc, more issues. Why are we eliminate anthrax, SARS? The thing I see that was a positive was I think what we need to try and do is in cities where congestion is an issue, we need to open up the underground areas, and they need to be for electric, mobile, or electric or self-propelled vehicles. Obviously, you wouldn't want gas vehicles in there, but if you have a fully electric car, or you have a bicycle, or an electric scooter, or you're walking, or you want to ride on, an underground tram, it should be kind of like a city under a city, if that makes sense. I'm sure most people have been to 2 and 3 stage malls, where underneath the sidewalks, you could just put walk-over glass. But no one's going to leave their car behind. We would have to have electric cars. We're talking about city congestion. There are going to be people that are driving in from outside areas that are still going to have cars, but a lot of people complain about public transit. Buses, taxis, things like that have a hard time getting through the congested areas. Granted, it puts taxi drivers and bus drivers a little bit out of business, but if you get people underground riding a trolley or a tram that moves you across that large underground area in a, albeit slow, but efficient manner, you're decreasing the number of people congesting traffic above ground. You're decreasing the number of bicycles that are up there. You remove a few electric cars from the street level. That leaves more room for cars. If you have trams and trolleys and underground trains that are able to move and transport goods, you'll literally have small delivery trains that show up underneath businesses to deliver their goods. There is an efficient way to do this, but it's not the ways people are projecting. And I'm not saying mine would be the best either. Unless you want to tell Tesla, and those are like $70,000. And they're not worth it. I'm not saying Tesla. I'm saying we need to run things electronically on tracks underground and allow people more free, open, uncongested travel by doing it underground. Don't bring the cars into the equation, but still go with underground. Maybe put in a few windows instead of grates and vents, and then you can add some small plants and trees that are going to produce some oxygen and make it smell nicer down there. You're going to have to accommodate for water and air movement, and you're going to have to put trolleys, trains, and honestly, my honest opinion would be, in large city areas, there should be a destination for trucks and deliveries to go, and that destination should drop it to a tram, an underground tram delivery system that would deliver it right to the business. I don't see a reason why in large cities like New York, LA, San Francisco, Houston, some of these cities I've seen, the number of trucks that congest and slow down traffic and cause these problems is astronomical. And if you just eliminated trucks from some of the traffic, you'd remove a lot of that congestion. If there was a depot just outside or somewhere near town where they could pull up, unload their supplies, the supplies went on a cart, the cart rolled right by and got unloaded right at the place it was supposed to go under the business, that would be so much more efficient. And it would probably save a lot of money to most businesses, because travel would be from plant to plant, not from plant to 7 stops. they could streamline that as well. And I went way over on transportation. I do think that underground methods would be sound, but they're not being looked at in the right way to apply them to how we actually live right now. So like the London Underground, so they have underground delivery trams in London. Their streets are so small, I couldn't understand how you deliver, not that I've actually been to London, AI trucks underground hauling loads of supplies. Yeah. It wouldn't even have to be AI trucks. Somebody driving a train tram, like a luggage cart through an airport, with the deliveries of pallets or whatever supplies on the train. The train rails go underneath every business necessary. It'd be like an underground electric train station. Everything would go where it needs to go, somewhat efficiently, and you'd have room for people to be able to move through the system. I think that would be the right way to go. But that's just some numbskull on the internet chatting away about new modes of transportation that I had my chat pick for me. London Underground is primarily passenger transport, but there is a mail service as well. See, most underground stations, though, are primarily passenger transport. And if you can diversify how you transport passengers, maybe you can decongest some of the surface level. Tell me a town that you've been in America, obviously, because that's what I can represent. But if London doesn't have this, that's awesome. A town that you don't see trucks traveling through the streets, one every third or fifth vehicle, because there's so many people in need of supplies, those trucks need to deliver the supplies. I hate the idea of AI because it puts people out of jobs unless you can build fucking robots. I also dislike the idea of AI. However, I do feel it will become essential in the future. It will allow for the lapses. It is how to program AI to allow for the existence of ourselves without it fighting us. That's a weird one. That's how do you state that? But with that, folks, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Lenugs, I am going to go into the back level programming and add you a whole bunch of bones for next time. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I really appreciate it. Everybody, it's Monday, so have yourselves a very fine week, and I hope to see you somewhere on somebody's channel, maybe even my own, come Wednesday. And remember, don't forget to slap, lick, kick, hug, plug, something. There's buttons to do things with on the way out. Enjoy those buttons, because that's all that's left of the show. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. It is over. Sorry.